Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say it, but illegal immigration is out of control in this country. Because in the past week, two known fugitives from justice in other parts of the world were found right here in our country. The first was involved in the Rwandan genocide, and the second was a very high-profile Bulgarian crime boss. So speaking of the one from Rwanda, he has been accused of ordering the killing of 2,000 Rwandans during the course of the Rwanda genocide. And of all things, he was found to be a farm worker in Paarl in the Western Cape. Now you might be thinking to yourself, oh well, thank goodness he was caught. SAPS and the South African Intelligence Services did a phenomenal job. Actually, they did no such thing. Because the local South African institutions had a lot of help from Interpol, of which this guy was on their most wanted list. And the worst irony of all is that this guy was in South Africa illegally because he has transgressed the Immigration Act. Which really does beg the question, how many people are in this country who are actually hardcore criminals, gangsters, or like this particular example, guilty of genocide? I mean, it's actually mind-boggling that someone like this can be, well, in another country, like ours, for example, and no one seems to know how he got here. I mean, I know there's a chicken wire fence across the Northwest, and I know that immigration controls in this country are extremely lax, but a man who has allegedly caused genocide could have been here for who knows how long? That's frightening. As for the second person, in terms of illegal immigration, he was a Bulgarian crime boss who was found killed at his house in Constantia. And guess what? He was also wanted by Interpol. But before they could get to him, he was executed along with his wife, his housekeeper, and his bodyguard. And this man was once again a notorious gangster. He was high up in a very important criminal syndicate in Bulgaria, and this particular mafia specialized in extortion, car theft, and drug trafficking. But of course, he's not the only person from Bulgaria who's been caught doing crime in South Africa. In fact, one person was killed because he had charges relating to a credit card syndicate, and 3 Bulgarian nationals were found with, hundreds of millions of rands worth of drugs, and they were locked up. So these two stories really make you wonder, why on earth are criminals coming to South Africa? Well, I think there are a variety of reasons which aren't really difficult to understand. But thankfully, News 24 has spoken to an expert who can just tell us what everyone already knows. And it boils down to corruption, the failure to enforce any form of law, and weakening leadership. This makes South Africa a real hive for international criminals. And interestingly, Interpol releases several red notices a year, of course, but it relies on the sort of host country to take that and lead to an arrest of someone. Because Interpol can't arrest anyone, they need a country to arrest someone. But in South Africa, it looks like Interpol has given out various red notices, but the South African police and the South African institutions are just not that terribly keen to act on them. However, in the past 5 years, Interpol and various institutions in South Africa have managed to arrest about 60 criminals in South Africa, so maybe that is changing a little bit. But the story is not really about Interpol. The story is, how on earth do crime lords, genocide manufacturers, and drug kings find their home in South Africa relatively easily? It appears these people are not disturbed in the slightest. They only get found out when they are killed by rivals, or as in the case of the Rwandan, after 20, 30 years of investigation. And it really all boils down to, well, Cyril quietly quitting during the course of last year, and in fact the state being filled with cadres of the ANC, who are as useful as a waterproof tea bag. And of course, because they are cadres, they are so used to being bribed for everything. You can just imagine how easy it is for someone who has like €1 million to come here and just bribe the first person they see and get into the country scot-free. And these, of course, are only like high-level known criminals around the world. How many other criminals from neighboring countries or from African countries do we have here in South Africa? We actually don't know. Because, as far as I can understand, there is no record of people coming in and out of the country. There is a semblance of order. There is a border post between Zimbabwe and Namibia, Mozambique, and all the rest of them. But how many people do we actually catch in those border posts? 1% maybe? But going back to the Rwandan, I did mention that he was a laborer or worker on a farm in Paarl. Now, this might be very controversial, especially to my particular audience, but if you are knowingly hiring undocumented illegal people in South Africa, that is a crime. I mean, it's not controversial, it is a crime in terms of the Immigration Act. And you could go to prison for up to 5 years for helping someone enter the country, leave the country, or remain in the country. But most importantly, if you are a farmer or someone who's looking for labor, shouldn't you vet the people that work for you? I mean, surely that is the most basic screening you could do for someone that works in your home or in your factory or in your office. You need to know whether these people are criminals or not. It seems like that isn't really taking place. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you as the business owner or house owner to do the job the police is supposed to do, but just a little bit of vetting would help you go a long way. If you hire a domestic worker or someone to work in your house, you're leaving them with your family, you're leaving them with your children. Don't you want to see what they are capable of? Don't you want to see that they are here, that they do follow rules, and more importantly, that they are not potential genociders from Rwanda? I mean, I can completely see why people do this. I mean, if the police and Home Affairs doesn't do their job, why the hell must you do the job of the police and Home Affairs? And that is completely correct. But especially if you're hiring someone inside your house, one would hope that you would appreciate the fact you don't want someone guilty of genocide looking after your children, surely. But anyway, I do believe illegal immigration is a problem. I'm not going to join Operation To-Do tomorrow, but we need to have a real conversation about illegal immigration in South Africa. Because if we don't know where people are, who they are, what they do while they are in this country, we're not going to win the fight against crime. We're not going to win the fight against corruption. We're not going to win the fight against most things. Because if you can't control your borders, there's not much else you can control in this country. Borders are the essence of the nation. They are the essence of the state. And once those go, everything else goes with it. So let me know in the comments down below, what can we do to fight illegal immigration in a very effective manner? I would love to know. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye.